In 1939, Nazi Germany searched for a place that could end all escape myths. They chose Colditz Castle. This 700-year-old Gothic beast, with walls 2 meters thick, perched on a 75-foot cliff, seemed designed by God specifically for imprisonment. The Nazis named it Auflagforce and declared it a highest security camp, intended to house habitual escapers caught at other camps, relatives of high-ranking Allied officials, and officers deemed extremely dangerous. However, the German High Command made a fatal logical error. They thought gathering all escape experts together would facilitate management, not realizing they were actually hosting a free innovation expo for the smartest, most restless minds in Europe. When you lock Britain's top mechanical engineers, free France's toughest demolition experts, the Netherlands' most seasoned linguists, and Poland's special ops scouts in the same yard, that castle is no longer a prison, it becomes an escape university. Here, the prisoners' daily routine wasn't hard labor, it was a highly organized job, researching how to dismantle the prison's physical defenses. They even established an escape committee, where every plan had to be vetted to ensure no waste of limited smuggled resources. At Colditz, freedom wasn't begged for, it was manufactured. The prisoners established a complete underground industrial system right under the noses of the Germans. Because they were officer class, they enjoyed the right to receive Red Cross parcels. Nazi guards would carefully check every bar of chocolate, unaware that Allied intelligence had woven micromaps, compasses, and even sewing patterns for disguises into chessboards, playing cards, or gramophone records. Most stunning was the prisoners' engineering creativity. To listen to Berlin radio, an electronics expert assembled a fully functional shortwave radio in an attic beam using stolen wire, melted tin seals, and discarded vacuum tubes. To create fake uniforms, they dyed bedsheets with boiled concentrated tea and pressed realistic German medals out of tin foil and buttons. In that stone box of extreme scarcity, they even manufactured wooden decoy rifles that looked real. This creator spirit terrified the guards, because you never knew if a British officer staring at a wall was calculating the slope of a tunnel or timing patrol gaps by the frequency of guard steps. If the escape history of Colditz were a movie, the Colditz cock glider would be the most unbelievable climax. In 1944, as Allied forces advanced across Europe, the prisoners feared the SS might execute them at the last moment. 2 British pilots proposed a mad plan. If the ground was blocked, they would fly away. In a secret attic directly above the castle chapel, they built a 2-seater glider. It was a miracle of modern engineering. The fuselage frame was made of stolen bed slats, the control lines were old elevator cables, and the skin was checkered bed sheets stiffened with boiled porridge. To mask the construction noise, they arranged for a violinist to practice day and night downstairs, using the music to drown out the sound of sawing wood. To launch, they even designed a complex catapult system using a heavy box of rubble falling through a shaft to provide the thrust to sling the plane from the roof toward the open fields outside Döbeln. Although the cock never actually flew before the castle was liberated, when American soldiers stormed the attic and saw this wooden bird waiting to take wing, they were speechless. It wasn't just a plane, it was the prisoners' final ultimatum to the Nazis. As long as the will survives, the human soul always has the right to fly. If building a glider was the peak of collective wisdom, individual escape attempts were high-stakes gambles. At Colditz, escaping was a competition. The most famous case involved British officer Pat Reed, who noticed a loophole in parcel transport and had himself nailed into a crate of old clothes. Through kilometers of jolting, oxygen deprivation, and intense vibration, he finally sought his way to freedom in a railway warehouse. Others chose performative exits. A French officer fluent in German sewed a near-perfect corporal's uniform from stolen fabric. He didn't just walk out the main gate, he actually reprimanded a real German sentry for having unpolished boots as he passed. This precise manipulation of the German psyche of absolute obedience made the Colditz defenses look like a sieve. Statistics show that despite the security, over 30 men achieved a home run, escaping the castle and successfully leaving Nazi-occupied territory. What drove the German guards maddest was not the prisoners' physical strength, but their reverse manipulation of the German mind. Inmates discovered that guards relied heavily on regulations and numbers. They invented shadow roll calls. Prisoners darted through tunnels or windows between groups during roll call to create the illusion of a correct count, masking an ongoing escape. They also exploited German respect for officer dignity, holding absurd competitions and rallies to distract guards while digging teams worked underground. This psychological maneuvering pushed guards to the brink of nervous breakdowns. One German captain wrote, "It is not that we are guarding them, it is that they have imprisoned us in an endless labor of the mind." On April 16, 1945, tanks of the U.S. 9th Armored Division entered Colditz. The King of Cages finally met its end. Yet, as the prisoners walked out, they showed no bloodthirsty hatred, but a victor's elegance. The Colditz cock, which never took flight, became eternal in a museum. Today, Colditz Castle is a museum honoring not Nazi power, but the explosive power of human intelligence in extreme adversity. It tells every visitor, the strongest fortress is not on a cliff, but in one's fear. The most effective weapon is not a cannon, but the brain that craves freedom and never stops thinking. The stories of these escape artists prove that even behind the coldest stone walls, if you dare to imagine flight, you are already free.